Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're talking a little bit more in depth and focusing in on some more of the behavioral traits, the personality traits and manipulation that we see in the psychopath individuals, who many have come across in their life, either in their personal relationships, their worker relationships, or their family relationships, and more learning the tools and tactics for how to better cope and manage with these individuals. And I want to focus in here on a very interesting aspect that relates to the high-risk behavior that we see in these psychopathic individuals. The immoral, the lack of morality, the lack of conscience, the lack of empathy that we see. And this really produces what we call a defiance. The psychopathic individual, whether it's a female psychopath or a male psychopath, will be very defiant. Defiant meaning counter to your needs, counter to your authority, counter to your position, counter to what you have requested. They will go against you. And this can be outwardly, this can be inwardly, this can be subtly, this can be in your face, this can be behind your back, it can be in front of your face. They are defiant. They are disobedient. And not just like, oh, they're just, being defiant, but they are constantly and chronically defiant. Meaning that they're going to go against your wishes, your opinion, your viewpoint, and use this as a way to cause anguish, drama, and really, I would say, kind of stir up a fight. And this is really meant to keep them on a high, stimulated, a highly charged state, because the psychopath, because of their the neurobiology that we see in their the brain regions and the neurophysiology, they have a very high sensitivity to the reward producing neurochemical called dopamine. So when they get this chemical going, they have a very sensitive receptor site to it. So it tends to create an overproduction of dopamine. So you see this very like one-track mind with them. In other words, when they want something, they're going to do whatever is required to get it. And this oftentimes means being defiant. And if what they want is power, if what they want is control, this is going to be a causative factor of what we call defiance. And then this in turn will create the attention back on them, their defiance, and it'll cause you to then feel powerless or result in anger, hate, resentment, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings. Basically, you'll become ensnared in their energy trap, their emotional manipulation. And then you need to react to their force, their defiance, their violation of societal and really kind of relationship norms. They will violate boundaries. They will violate protocol. They will do things that they are not supposed to do. They will not do things. They will do things that they're not supposed to do, and they will do things. I'm getting tongue twisted here. They will do things that they're not supposed to do, and furthermore, they will not do what they're supposed to do. So it can go both ways and really act as defiant. And it's just because they want to, because they said so. And it's oftentimes people, when they're in a relationship with these people, sometimes they just kind of bow down to them. They tend to just be docile. They tend to just give in or enable and allow a lot of this to happen because they just don't know how to confront it. They don't have the tools to kind of know and how to stand up and just kind of say, allow this, allow me to do this, or this is my job, or this is what we've requested of you, or that's not right. They a lot of times people feel uncomfortable kind of confronting them, or they're really kind of shocked, they're kind of stunned, and they don't know how to handle it. So they then give into this kind of very bullying, overpowering, yet kind of coupled with some sort of charm behavior that is part of the psychopathic mindset and how they treat people. And so this sort of defiance is oftentimes the issue is that it becomes tolerated or enabled or, allowed in the beginning. But then it becomes really an imbalance in the relationship, and it becomes a source of anguish. It becomes a source of discomfort. It becomes a source of accountability and disconnection with this individual. And then they're basically running the show without your input. They are behaving ways in the relationship which are counter to your best interests. They are, in essence, working on a very deliberate path. They know what they want. And so when we talk about the fact that this person has no bond, attachment, etc., that it's all a show, they are a showboater, in the depth and extent to which they will do this and create the mask that they are this person who you think that they are or who you're counting on them to be, is not really so. In fact, oftentimes their behavior is counter to that which you think that they are. It becomes, very then necessary to know how to cope with it and how to deal with it. So first thing you have to do is if you have to ask yourself, if you find yourself, if you're in this emotional battle in defiance and betrayal with this sort of individual, is ask yourself, why do I allow this to happen? Why am I allowing this to happen? You have to at first become aware of it and then take stock of what is the payoff that up to now, what is the payoff that I have had in this relationship for allowing this to be? What is the payoff? What have I, quote unquote, gotten out of this relationship in allowing them to become so defiant? Where have I where have I dropped the ball? Where have I dropped the puck? Where have I allowed them to cross the line? And if you can add kind of some things up in your mind, piece it together, where have I allowed them to cross the line? Where have they overstepped the boundaries? Where have they in so many different areas? It can be physically, emotionally, financially. Where have I let my guard down? Where have I maybe trusted this person when maybe this person is not to be trusted? And now, how can I change my mindset and my perspective? And knowing this now, knowing that they are the way that they are, how can I declare and assert and back up myself with credibility and declare these boundaries? Boundaries are a firm line. They're not, they're not drawn in the sand. They're not drawn in the dust. They're not drawn in sugar. They're drawn. It's a standard. You need to have somewhat firm boundaries, not rigid. I mean, not, completely the things that cause you to freak out, but you have to have a clear-cut boundary and standard with which you are needing emotionally. So in other words, if it's an emotional boundary, and you can kind of basically call them out. If you see that they have bullied their way through, used aggression, used a psychopathic force or rage or defiance, you basically need to call them out, because this defiance will increase over time. This high-risk behavior will increase over time. The showboating, the facade with which they use to fool and deceive their targets becomes stronger and thicker and more energy and more pronounced over time. So it is very important to realize that they're going to keep on this. They're just going to keep manipulating people, especially those people who were weak, who were vulnerable, who maybe welcomed them into your life, and there was a certain payoff that you had by having them around. And so, that payoff, which they know, in other words, they take advantage of people and their good nature. So, in other words, if they were part of your business, part of your family, they were married to a sibling, they were your parent, in the beginning, the love bombing, perhaps maybe you thought there was something a little bit off about them. Yet you let your boundaries, you let it go, you enabled it because here's this new person, and it would, perhaps be wrong. Let's give them a chance. Let's give this a chance. So you made excuses in your mind. I'm not going to speak up right now. I'm going to let this go. And I'm just kind of observing this. And then you realize that there was something a little bit of off, but you had basically let it slide. And now it is where it is. Basically, this individual is now to the point where they have control over the situation. And this is what they have wanted from the beginning. And the psychopath will get what they want regardless of what other people think, say, do, or feel. So basically, that basically means that they are going to get what they want, and they will showboat, they will appease, they will use a fake sort of gratification to their target, giving them what they want as a way to play their target. And when I say play their target, I mean they will move in with people, they will have sexual relations, they will be, they will go all out. They don't care what they have to do. It's a very objective, matter of fact, I will do this and this to get this and this. And if it's association contacts, if they're basically, and it's per person, basically. So if they are engaged with this individual, to be able to eventually calculatedly break them down, inherit a lot of their belongings, or get cut in out of alimony, or whatever the situation is. If they were to get divorced and then have half of their estate, and then they have other plans for this. It's like the ultimate gold digger. You've maybe familiar with that term, but these people are very good at playing, putting their best foot forward, being on their best behavior. But yet, it's just horrible. It's disgusting how they present a facade, and then they can turn around and then talk about something completely different and contrary. Just manipulate people with just a pull of a string, with a vocal command, with a vocal insult, and so they really backstab the very people who feed them. And it's very cruel, very insensitive. They don't care. They really don't care. It's just how they promote themselves. In fact, this quality can oftentimes be, quote unquote, the attractiveness to this individual if they're lacking in this. So that's why we say that they take advantage of the vulnerable, because the people who have this lack of assertiveness, or very, very good nature individuals, the very quiet, the very generous, these are oftentimes the people who get conned. I've known many clients, male and female alike, who have been duped and deceived in this manner. It's just criminal. Really the extent to which they take advantage of people and break people down, break apart their families, break apart their finances that they could have built, over generations, even, legacies of finances that have been broken down by this malignant, narcissistic, and psychopathic defiance, which is really the seat of their emotional manipulation. And they get people to concede in and give in based on this psychopathic aggression, and really sort of a very pathological demanding quality that's just part of a malignant narcissist or a psychopathic individual. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.